Well, we're back getting ready to go deeper. And we've been having a good time, and I've been getting some great feedback, and I appreciate that. This is Earl Purdy, and I'm doing the Course in Miracles lesson 45. God is the mind with which I think. So another term for God is the mind with a capital Y with which I think. God is the mind with which I think. God is the mind that I think with. God is the mind with which I think means God is the mind that I think with. Today's idea, God is the mind with which I think, holds the key to what your real thoughts are. Your real thoughts are nothing that you think you think. Your real thoughts are nothing that you think you think, just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. There is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts actually resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what your real vision will show you. You think with the mind of God. Therefore, you share your thoughts with God, as God shares God's thoughts with you. They are the same thoughts because they're thought with the same mind. To share means to make alike or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of God leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. Thoughts do not leave their source. Therefore, your thoughts are in the mind of God as you are in the mind of God. They are in your mind as well. As your thoughts are in your mind, God's thoughts are in your mind where God is. As you are part of God's mind, so are your thoughts part of your Creator's mind. So where then are your real thoughts? Well, today we will attempt to reach your real thoughts. We will have to look for your real thoughts in your mind, because it's in your mind where your real thoughts are. Your real thoughts must still be there in your mind, because your real thoughts cannot have left their source. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal. That means being part of creation. Our 3 5-minute practice periods for today will take the same general form that we used in applying yesterday's idea. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We will not let the thoughts of the world hold us back. We will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what God would have us do is impossible. Instead, we will try to recognize that only what God would have us do is possible. We will also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. We will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what the Creator would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. Us succeeding today is the will of God. Begin the exercises for today by repeating the idea to yourself. God is the mind with which I think. Closing your eyes as you do so. Then spend a fairly short period of time in thinking a few relevant thoughts of your own, keeping the idea, God is the mind with which I think, clearly in mind. God is the mind with which I think. After you have added some 4 or 5 thoughts of your own to the idea, repeat the idea again and tell yourself gently, my real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them. My real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find my real thoughts. Then try to go past all the unreal thoughts that cover the truth in your mind and reach to the eternal. That means under the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning. They're under all the senseless ego mad ideas which have cluttered up your mind. Your real thoughts are there in your mind right now, completely unchanged. Your real thoughts, which are your loving thoughts, will always be in your mind exactly as they always were. Everything you have thought since then will change, but the foundation on which it rests is totally changeless. It is this foundation from God toward which the exercises for today are directed. Here is your mind joined with the mind of God, with the mind of love. Here Are your thoughts one with your Creator's thoughts? For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary for this kind of practice. Approach this practice as you would an altar dedicated in heaven to God the Father and to God the Son. For such is the place you are trying to reach. That means you will probably be unable as yet to realize how high you are trying to go. Yet even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an exercise in innocence and holiness. That means this is an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven, which the Course describes as perfect joy. So this is an attempt to reach perfect, complete joy. In the shorter exercise periods for today, try to remember how important it is to you to understand the holiness, the strength, the innocence, and the power of the mind that thinks with God. Take a minute or two as you repeat the idea throughout the day to appreciate your mind's holiness, your mind's innocence, your mind's power. Stand aside, however briefly, from all thoughts that are unworthy of Him whose host you are. And thank the Creator for the thoughts the Creator is thinking with you. So the idea for today is God is the mind with which I think. 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 Love is the mind. Love is the mind. Love is the mind with which I think. God is the mind with which I think. God is the mind with which I think. Okay, forward this video to others. Check me out at earlpurdy.com and let peace extend from my mind and my heart to yours.